My last couple of videos I did, I talked about the divorce rates and how kids aren't are opting out of marriage. We have all this hookup culture and stuff. And it all looks pretty bleak. But this last weekend, like 5 days ago now, on Saturday, we had gone to a wedding for a friend of mine who's much younger than me. And when I say much younger, like he's probably 25, I'm 40. And it was beautiful. It was so great to see such a young couple so in love. Like they had been together since sixth and seventh grade. And it was really inspiring to see how energetic the youth still were on marriage. You know, it's not a friend that I'm super close with. I had met him. Uh, he lives on a property, on his grandfather's property. It's close to me, and I caught him out at the mailbox one day, or he was picking the trash cans up from the street, and I had stopped and asked, was trying to get permission to hunt the property. About a month later, he called me back and said, "Yeah, my grandpa said you could hunt the property," and we became friends. Like I said, he's much younger than me, so it's I definitely can get a different. I was able to get a different perspective from talking to this younger generation of people that are just starting their lives, and so because we didn't really have a lot of, I didn't know a lot of the people in at the wedding. We had gotten sat at a table with a handful of their friends who grew up with them. Now they're all 25 to 30 years old, like in that range, age range. And they were all super excited on getting married. And obviously it's like that with weddings, especially with women. They all get that bug and stuff like that. But they all had engagement rings on. They were all there with their fiancés. I mean, one of the girls, I don't know where her fiance was. Maybe he was out of town for something. But it just made me feel hopeful for the future. Now I don't know how many of these relationships are going to work out. I don't know how many of them are going to get married and end up getting divorced. But it was super it was good to see, it was good to have these conversations. And it was funny because my wife and I are so much older and such a different part of our lives. We have 3 kids and stuff, and they're of course asking us about a bunch of questions about our kids and about just are they in sports and how old are they. And I have a 20-year-old and a 1-year-old, so I got a son who's close to their age, 5 6, under 10 years off from where they're at in life. And it was good to see. And I think a big factor, and I've touched on it in the other videos, was a lot of people get married they don't have a strong faith when I mean faith, I mean faith in God when they get married. This young man that got married this weekend, his grandfather is super, super religious, super involved with the church. And he's the one that married them. And when he was doing his whole, citing verses from the Bible and stuff and talking about how he has been waiting for this day for a long time to marry off his grandson, it got me so choked up to just, and he was all choked up trying to get through this. And it just made me really reflect on just on about everyone's faith, my faith. How when my wife and I got married, I specifically told them I didn't want no religious anything in the wedding at all. I didn't want to say, under God, none of that stuff. Like, that's how big of an atheist I was at the time. In fact, when we walked out for our ceremony for like the first dance and stuff, I came running out, throwing up the devil horns. Just silly. But fortunately, for me, I've taken my vows seriously. Even though I got married, complete atheist, I've taken them seriously, and we've made it this far, and now we can, my wife and I have talked about, now that we're definitely going down this new path in life, and trying to find God and going to church and doing all that stuff, about getting remarried. And after this weekend, watching all the whole thing, and listen to his grandfather talk and read Bible verses, and just how emotional he was and stuff, and it's when you have that moral foundation and that backbone, I think you're more likely to stick together and work things out. And I know a lot of people say that, they are Christians and they're a Catholic and they're a this and a that. But how many of them really are? How many of them just use it as a, title or a virtue signal to, I go to church, I call them the soccer mom Christians that go to church once a month and say, they don't ever pick up a Bible. And I would like to get remarried eventually, once I feel comfortable calling myself a Christian, once I feel comfortable saying that, Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior, especially after this weekend. And all the kids there were super, into their faith, and it was really inspiring, and it's good to see that maybe we're not so screwed as I thought we were. They all talking about starting their families and stuff, and a couple of my videos have been about, the boss lady working mom thing, and that was the only concerning part, was how many of them, were either in college or just getting out of college and had all this school debt, and talking about their career paths and stuff. And the women, I mean, not the men. And I don't know, it was good to see. I kind of wish we had got to spend a little more time having the, talking with them and sorting some of these thoughts out. But they were all partying and dancing and stuff like that. And my wife and I, we cut out of there kind of early. We had to get back home to the kid. But it was definitely made me feel hopeful that this next generation isn't totally lost, and that, I think the tables are turning. I keep seeing more and more stories about this next generation of kids keep popping up into churches, into these Orthodox churches, into the Catholic Church, Protestant Christian churches, keep showing up, asking for a Bible and wanting to learn. And I think that's so much of what we've been lacking, is just some sort of moral foundation and faith in something higher than us. When I'd first gone to rehab, part of the 12-step program is surrendering to a higher power. And I went in there, I was total atheist. I'm like, I don't even know what that means. Like, I don't understand what you guys want me to do, surrender to a higher power. And I was like, I guess I could say my kids, I could surrender to them as my higher power, but I just didn't have that at the time. And, the more now, it just always to me just felt like such a cop out that you were just surrendering over to this higher power, and you had no control over, you know, your own path. And the more that I kind of lean into it and just kind of take the stress off me and stop trying to control as much, I definitely you definitely feel that weight lifted off your shoulders, and like and I'm starting to understand it a lot more now. Definitely starting to understand it. So I think it's good, man. It was, like I said, it was really promising, really inspiring to see how all these youngsters were all amped up on marriage and how happy they were for their friends, and you know, just realizing I didn't had no idea they had been together since 6th and 7th grade. So I mean, how old do you? I mean, they've been together a good, 13 years actually. I take that back. It was their 13-year anniversary of being together that they got married. So 13 years they had been together. So it's pretty rad. I mean, I'm so happy for them. It was so cool I'm so happy they invited us, to be honest with you. I would have never expected him to invite me to the wedding. Like I said, I barely know the guy. You know, we hang out every now and then. You know, we hunt, or I hunt their property, and you know, we hang out and shoot the shit after I get, you know, out of the blind, or you know, he's helped me gut a couple deer. Like, we're not super close, but it just made me so happy that it really, I was really honored to be there. I was really happy that they felt like, or he felt close enough to me to invite us to come and see, you know, them get married. It's such a big day for them, and something they're gonna know, you know, remember forever and ever and ever. And I got to be there for it, and it was pretty rad. I'm very happy for them, and I wish them the best of luck. And yeah, it's pretty much all I got for today. I think we're gonna be all right. I think we're gonna be all right.